And we're going to be looking at the millennial culture. All right, and it's important to do so, and I think we're going to be looking at some new ideas, and because I think millennials get a hard knock for a number of reasons. We're going to be looking at that. All right, but we're going to be looking at millennial culture because it has to relate to you. And we talk about this as it has to be relevant. It has to be relevant. Solutions for me and my generations will not be relevant for you. Okay, and because of that, any solutions I come up that may be reflective for myself, my generation, my outlook of life, will be completely unsatisfying to you. So we have to talk to you and your culture, and that is going to be unique. And to do that, we have to kind of understand what's taking place with the millennial culture. Today, millennials have a tremendous sense of vulnerability. Okay? Inherently, there's low levels of social trust and a very, very clear understanding the world is a risky, frightful environment. Okay? How do we know that? Okay? Let's use some great examples. Okay? Let's look at politics. Most millennials don't align or believe or trust either political party. Okay? The vast majority of you have major libertarian tendencies. All right? That's new. Okay? That's not typically known. So that's an emerging issue. Okay? We also know, okay, most of you are non-religious. Either non-affiliated or non-practicing, but there's a large component of atheism taking place. Okay? You don't trust old institutions. Culturally, significant changes there. I've talked at length on a number of presentations, even within this forum in the 21 Convention, about cultural impacts here. All right, but let's take a real quick analysis, a real simple question. And let's relate it back to my culture and my demographics as compared to millennial demographics. If you asked me when I was your age in the 20s, okay, do men menstruate? There'd be a clear, quick, fast answer to that. Okay? But today, it is seriously being considered, openly questioned in culture. Okay? How do you think that plays on your psyche when everything you normally would have been associated to believe, the foundations of thought, ideas, and your viewpoints are constantly in question? Okay? You have every right to be fearful. You have every right to question normalcy. Okay, let's keep going on this. How do you feel about the economy? Each and every one of you are children of the recession. What are your job prospects like? Sense of career. All right? And if we talk about men, okay, one of the key elements of being a man is to protect and to provide. And when we talk about providing, what does that mean? It talks about being overproducing. Not just producing for yourself, but to overproduce to provide for others. In this economic situation, can you provide for yourself? Are you prepared to provide for yourself? There's a tremendous sense of insecurity here and fear that's reasonable. It's understandable. But we don't take that into account when we judge. We don't take that into account when we look for solutions. Here's the last one. More than half my audience members, you come from broken families. You're a product of failed families and divorce. The longest, most intimate look at long-term committed monogamous relationships in your experiences have been failures. Is it any wonder you have no faith in committed monogamous relationships? Why would you? You have first-hand experience of what happens when you commit and you're involved. And I will say this, you were at the brunt end of that. Millennials are terribly insecure, and for damn good reason. Right? You also are very, very lucky. Okay? You live in a world where there's choice overload. And there's a paradox what comes with choices. Too many choices and people freeze up. There's paralysis involved. Okay? And it's not a matter of survival. It's a matter of pleasure. You know, I think there was a peanut butter study, peanut butter and jelly study. You know, how many are in a grocery store? How many people have access not just to a cell phone, but to a type, a brand, a service provider? Any major service that we choose, that we use, there's multiple competitors. Choice overload. That's endemic in social and cultural conditioning. It affects your way of thinking, it affects your view on life, okay? Second one is you live in the information age, okay? And that is significant. That is very, very significant. Things have changed, okay? You used to be able to go to school, graduate from high school, go to a job, and carry on. No, not anymore. Now you need actually more. And in the service industry, you need to actually have technical skill and training, okay? Usually that requires a formal education, okay? But beyond that, you also have to tie that formal education to real-world practical experience that's marketable. Okay, that requires time. And millennials have been slandered, okay, and very poorly judged, and there's a term for it, delayed onset adolescence. You people just aren't fucking growing up and being responsible. Oh, by the way, yeah, there's been a complete shift in expectations, but we're not going to acknowledge that. I think that's grossly unfair. It's inappropriate, okay? Especially in this economic situation. Okay, then you combine that with choice overload, and you have a lot of elements being delayed. And by the way, I talked earlier about the default nature of mankind is for mediocrity. Okay, and if that's true and you have choice overload, I get the fact that you would naturally want to kick a can down the road. Who would want to go out there? So there's a lot of things literally lined up against you that make these elements and solutions very, very challenging for millennials. Understanding that helps bring confidence, and you can start finding solutions when you actually know what you're facing here. Another is you guys are reared on technology. Okay? And it's not just the technology involved, it's the process of what we release. Everything is being beta tested. Software releases are constantly being updated. Nothing's ever permanently issued, okay? You have beta testing, you have early release, you work out the kinks, okay? You issue version 2.0, 3.0, it just keeps coming, or until the product's utterly abandoned, one way or another. How do you think you affect relationships when you see this sort of behavior, when that's part of what you do? You see it reflected in the dating world. Version 1.0, girlfriend 1.0, girlfriend 2.0, 3.0, abandon it really quick. We know there's another version coming out. Not only that, you're not going to sync that in and sit down and say, I'm going to hold this iPhone for the rest of my freaking life. You know there's version 3.0 right around the corner. And you're used to exchanging material products on a regular basis because newer, better is constantly coming out. That's incredible. All right. The other is the technology itself. All right? It is just as easy to meet as it is to repeat. All you do is swipe left, swipe right. We're no longer having to engage or invest in ourselves, to invest in a situation, a social context, to go over and meet people. Yeah, it's easier to swipe left or swipe right. And if it doesn't work out for you, fuck it, I'm rolling off. This is pattern and behavior. This is cultural thinking. It's endemic. And it's in the back of your minds. It's subconsciously there. Another, and a fantastic one, is you guys also have a massive fear of missing out. And it's completely understandable. Okay? The greater composite comparison you guys have really affects your ability to make a hard decision. Because what ends up happening is you're exposed to so many more options, okay? And what you don't do is just sit down and say, it's just option A. What you start doing is having a comparison, okay? You start comparing, not just the one or two girls you may have met socially, but a composite of the 100 women you may have seen online, experiences you may have had, and your expectations grow proportionally because of it. That's a challenge. Here's the other thing. Numbers don't diminish desire. All right? And the clearest expectation of all this is I can remember the first time a woman revealed willingly, it wasn't a slight glance, her breasts. The first time I saw a pair of naked tits, oh my God. The only thing better than that was wanting to see the next 20. Okay? I was done. You're finished. Okay? That's natural, by the way. All right? So you have this, okay? And people turn to it. all right? And it's a challenge. And it gets even worse. There's an old phrase that it's very, very difficult to keep the farm boy on the farm once he's seen the lights of Paris. Very, very true here. It gets worse when you've been out dating, okay? And some of these guys, okay, have been with 5, 6, 7 women. In the 1950s, the numbers were remarkably lower. You didn't have those composite. It was much easier. We know, for example, the more sexual partners you have, the less likely you're going to be happy and fulfilled or sustained in a long-term relationship. And that magic number for men is 5. That's mortifying. I just saw Nick's eyes just go light up like, yeah, he's toast. Okay, you are so fucked, brother. You are done. Okay, so what happens when, and by the way, they've done the studies out and actually put a cap on this. By the time you hit 20, your probability of happiness percentage goes down 1% for every new partner you have after 20. You're running a deficit. We'll talk more about Nick later. But keep in mind, it's terribly natural that people will fear heavy commitment where risks are high and ability to support are low and opportunities are in abundance. It's natural, okay? So this happens to be millennial culture, all right? You have a tremendous sense of vulnerability. You have tremendous overload of choices, which causes paralysis. You are reared on technology that says everything's replaceable, and you have an absolute fear of missing out. And that's your world of the sexual marketplace. This is how you are going into the sexual marketplace with those characteristics. How do you think you're going to fare? Anybody honestly now, after looking at this, have a better understanding why they have difficulties with women and with relationships? Maybe a little more compassion and understanding? How about we'll use the word empathy for your situation and cultural plight? This is what we're looking at here.